Hey everybody, welcome back to another box office report. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. It is the end of April. This is the 29th as I'm recording this. So we have one more day in April, so it's essentially the month is over. And we are back once again with another box office report. So we got a couple films to look at, and an interesting month to say the least. So let's get into it. Before we do the report, as we typically do before we get into it, I like to show off, of course, my measurements of how I do these things. Because there's always a vagueness with how with how people determine success from failure. This is how I determine it. If it's a single digit, it's a two times ratio. If it's double digit, I do 2.5. And if it's a triple digit, I do three times. And if there's any publicly known marketing expenses or anything related to it, like reshoots, whatever like that, um, then I also include that as well in consideration of its general investment. So now, if there is none of that information available, I'm purely judging by the production expenses alone. Or by what information is out there. So just wanted to lay that out just so we understand how I'm measuring this and seeing how I determine success from failure. So, so let's get into it. April was a interesting month. It was an interesting month to say the least, and started off strong with, of course, a Minecraft movie. Came out, of course, April 4th, distributed by Warner Brothers, and it came off, of course, as the heavy hitter of the month, and still is the heavy hitter of the month, coming now potentially the highest grossing film of the year in the US, I believe, domestically speaking. Um, it's doing very well. Made 816 million so far with a budget of 150 million. No disclosure of marketing expenses, but I'm pretty sure they were expensive just because there was sponsorships with McDonald's and other restaurant chains and this and that. So I'm pretty sure we're looking at like $100 million expense of an investment of potentially 250 million. Break even point, because remember it's a triple digits, so if you times it by three, it would be $750 million. Obviously, outpacing that. Big success here for Warner Brothers. Definitely, they needed a win. So very, very big success story here for them. So good on them. Good on them because it's the company has definitely been needing a win, and thankfully now they have one. So that's the first thing. Next film that came out, I believe, the same weekend as a Minecraft movie was Hell of a Summer. This was Film Wolfhard. Yeah, Film Wolfhard's film. He directed it and also starred in it, also co-wrote it. This was distributed by Neon, and well, didn't do all that great. Obviously, when you're coming out of on the same weekend as a heavy hitter like a Minecraft movie, you're probably not going to get as many sales. And in the case of this, it did not do too great. So far, it's grossed 3.2 million with a budget of at least 3 million. Investment wise, still 3 million. So break even point, it would need to do at least 6 million, and clearly that's not going to be the case. Uh, yeah, just kind of came and went. I feel like if you put this in like closer to like May, I feel like then it might have had better odds. But clearly, putting it against a Minecraft movie was not the best of judgments. Yeah, so definitely not a good start for his directorial efforts, I guess. But yeah, it was just a poor judgment and release strategy, if you're asking me. So, all right, next film. I believe this is going into the next weekend. We have The Amateur. So this is was released on April 11th, distributed by Disney. This is like 20th Century Studios, I believe, so under the Disney umbrella. Stars Rami Malek and Lawrence Fishburne and a spy espionage type of thing. And well, didn't do all that great. Had a total gross so far of 80.5 million with a budget of 60 million. We have no disclosing of marketing expenses, so all we have is the $60 million budget. And if you times that by 2.5, it would have to do at least 150 million. Times it by two, it would have to do 120 million. So yeah, clearly not going to be the case. Really not close at all. So this is a failure for Disney, adding to the list of failures that they've had. And Thunderbolts is coming out next, or no, yeah, this weekend. So right, yeah, it's this weekend. I believe it is. Yeah, and I've heard that the production on that front is $200 million and potential marketing expenses there as well. So yeah, man, it's not a great time to be Disney right now. 'Cause Captain America and they had another failure. I forget what it was, but they had, I mean, Captain America, Snow White, of course. And now with something like this, it's not a good time for Disney right now, and seems like Thunderbolts is going to be continuing in that trend of just diminishing returns. So yeah, this was never going to do too well. It just kind of was pretty basic, formulaic from what I was told, and just by the trailer, didn't seem like anything inventive either. So yeah, that's kind of came and went. So also the same weekend we had Drop. This is the next film from Blumhouse, distributed, of course, by Universal Pictures. And with Blumhouse, of course, we always have smaller budgets, and they usually work in the company's favor. So this has made a total gross so far of 26.1 million, has a budget of 11 million, no marketing expenses disclosed, and as a result, with just a $11 million budget, has to do a break-even point of at least 27.5 million. So basically, it's going to turn a profit by the next weekend. It's Blumhouse. I mean, we've discussed this before with Blumhouse. They are really, really, I think, probably the smartest company right out there in terms of a film studio, because they always have low expenses. They never go for anything massive, and as a result, they typically turn a profit. Um, so yeah. So also good word of mouth. I mean, fair. I've heard fair things with the film, so that also helped as well. But yeah, clearly going to turn a profit, and clearly another success for the company Blumhouse. So, so there you have that. Also on the same weekend was Warfare. This was the A24 feature. It was the Alex Garland co-directed piece. It was set within a Pacific. It was during the Iraq incident, Iraq War, or I forget what the time period is. I'm terribly sorry, but um, distributed by A24, and this one didn't do all that well. Total gross so far 24.9 million, had a budget of 20 million, and no marketing expenses disclosed. $20 million investment times that 2.5, it would have to do at least 50 million to break even, and clearly that's not the case here. So I had good word of mouth, but you know, you had a lot of variety this in that Pacific weekend, and with Drop, taking kind of the center stage, because ultimately, with something like Drop, which is more horror based, that's going to be a little more enticing for people than say something like this, which is a piece of historical significance, a war film. Those are kind of like a niche audience. It has to really take off. Horror, it's kind of always a worthwhile investment. So yeah, so didn't do all that great. Didn't did really just bombed. So yeah, so that's a bit unfortunate. I was gonna go check this one out, but I just didn't really care to at the end of the day. Just kind of passed on it. So all right, the next film that came out on the same weekend is The King of Kings. This is Angel Studios, their next film. Of course, Angel Studios coming up in the industry. They're doing films such as Sound of Freedom, which took off that summer. Now they have The King of Kings, boosting a pretty notable cast, and this has done pretty well. According to research, it has at least just a $15 million budget. Total gross so far is 59.1 million, and no marketing expenses were disclosed, but investments of 15 million, so times that by 2.5, would have to do at least 37.5 million to break even. Clearly has overperformed. I believe it has become now the highest grossing uh, foreign. I forget what it was, but I think that there was some articles that came out recently saying that it kind of broke records and stuff like that. But clearly, it's done very, very well. Resonated a lot with audiences. Um, yeah, clearly has been doing pretty well. So another win for Angel Studios. They're just kind of coming up in the industry. This little company that's, they're kind of also a conservative, like company. So I'm kind of surprised that, there's as much attention given to a film like this, or at least like, by word of mouth that, the film has gotten, this sort of attention. But, um, because politics, they're kind of dictating, a lot of the attention on social media. But that was why Sound of Freedom had issues, with distribution or if give me a home release. I'm wondering if this is going to have any issues. Probably less so because it's not so politically motivated. But but yeah, another big win for Angel Studios, and clearly is going to give them some good profits when it's all said and done. So, and the other film that came out that same weekend was, or no, we're going into the next weekend. Sorry, uh, we're now talking about Sinners. So this came out on April 18th, distributed by Warner Brothers, and so far, it seems to be tracking well. I say that with trepidations because if you look into that, of course, total gross so far 168.5 million. Budget is between 90 to 100 million. I've read mostly reports saying 90 million. I've read some reports saying 100. So we don't know. Marketing expenses, we don't know. I've heard 50 to 60 million, but that's not from any sources that I trust. Um, so as it stands, we have an investment of 90 to 100 million. So to break even, the film would need to make bare minimum 225 million. Highest should do is at least 300 million. So 168.5 million. I think because of just how stable it's been, because coming into the second weekend, it didn't have a big drop off actually. And I don't think that's entirely significant because when you consider how it started off, it didn't start off on the best foot. For it to have the same kind of uh, the same type of take in the next weekend, I don't know if I would entirely call that a good thing, um, but it seems to be stepping in the right direction. So I think that it's safe to say that it might end up doing fine. I think that it may well hit the 225 mark. Um, and I think that the company might be satisfied with that. So, so I think this might turn out to do fine. I don't know if it'll reach the $300 million mark, but I think that it's got great word of mouth, and I think that it will. I think it will end up doing just okay, enough to satisfy. So that's my guess by just how things are going. It seems like it's leaning in a more positive direction. So. Next film we need to talk about is The Legend of Oki. We did a review on this. I liked this film. I know a lot of people weren't so crazy about it, but came out April 25th, distributed by A24, and clearly no one went out to see it. I had a feeling this would fail just because it's a very, very specific kind of film. It's very unique in its approach. So I don't think it was really going to satisfy a lot of people. There were walkouts in my theater when I saw it, so I wasn't expecting this to do crazy well, and clearly it didn't. Has made a total gross of 1.5 million, had a budget of 10 million, and obviously with $10 million investment, without any marketing expenses disclosed, it would need to do at least 25 million to break even. So clearly a flop, a big flop for A24. Two flops for A24. Really, it's just Man, that company, it amazes me that they're still able to put out invest in certain capacities, because that company rarely gets wins. Like, they don't often get a lot of wins under their belt, so sucks. Sucks. I mean, I thought it was a unique kind of film, but clearly it wasn't for everybody. So, next film we're going to talk about, it came out the same weekend, was The Accountant 2. This was distributed by Amazon, released on the same weekend, and didn't do all that great. I swear it was like 38 million something, but I guess it dropped off a little in terms of its projections. And so far, according to the Wikipedia page, uh, 37.7 million, had a budget of 80 million, so almost double of what the original was. And we don't have any marketing expenses there. So with an $80 million investment, this has to do at least $200 million to break even. Clearly not going to be the case. I don't understand why this didn't just go to streaming, because I honestly thought it was for a hot minute, and then I found out that it was going to theaters. I was like, why? Why is it going to theaters? Um, I understand the first one took off the way it did mainly because of the attention that probably was on Ben Affleck at the time, because that was the same year that Batman vs Superman came out, and I think he just direct like Argo or something like that. I don't know. Like, he did some significance. Like, he had significance as a name back then. Um, it's mainly being as Batman at the time. So, um, and I think it came out at a window time also where there wasn't a whole lot of like competition. Like, it was like an August release or something. This is coming out in April, like right at the beginning of the summer. I Yeah, it just wasn't going to do well regardless. I think that this should have just been dumped on streaming. But of course, Amazon's rationale is, well, we put it out in theaters, and that's just extra money made for us. When we put it on streaming, trust me, that's where you're going to see all the money be made. A la Red One, for instance, you know, because I'm waiting with bated breath for Red One too, because clearly that's going to happen, right, Amazon? Because you you say that that it makes more profit on streaming than it does theatrically. So then why put it out in theaters anyway? You know. So yeah, they're lying through their mouths. They know we know what's up. They try to gamble with the theatrical experience, and it just doesn't work out for them. We had that happen with Red One, and now it's happening here with The Accountant too. So yeah, the budget was definitely working against it too. That was definitely not the smartest thing, blowing it up to like 80 million. So there you have that. And finally, the last film I believe is, yes, Until Dawn. This is the video game adaptation horror piece directed by David Sandberg, distributed by Sony Pictures, and surprisingly off to a decent start. 18.1 million had as a total gross. Has a budget of 15 million, no marketing expenses released. So by that, it has to do at least 37.5 million. I I honestly can see this doing fine. It doesn't have to do a whole lot at this point to break even. So, and it's being held up a lot by the international market. So I could say that this could be a success story. I could definitely see this being like kind of a quiet success, because it doesn't really have to do a whole lot. So like 18 million. So basically like 16, 17 million more that it needs to do. So I think it's gonna do fine. I think this is surprising for me because I thought this would just get buried everywhere, but it seems like the foreign market at least had an interest in this film. So yeah. So thankfully the foreign market held it up because it seems like it's maybe on track to turn a profit. So if you were counting, that was 10 films that came out in April, 10 significant films that came out in April. And by the successes and the failures, it was a pretty even month. There were pretty much 5 successes, at least 2 that are tentatively, I'm saying successes, judging by trajectory, how they probably are going to hold up in the next few weeks. Um, and then, of course, you have your other failure, the ones that just flat out have not done well. So pretty evenly matched month. Uh, and by just how the year has been going so far, obviously it's still a trying time. It's been boosted now a little bit thanks to a couple of successes, but still, pretty lackluster year so far. Still plenty of failures compared to the success stories. But April has definitely been a boost in terms of the amounts of successes that have been collected so far. 2 of which, like I said, are temporary. I'm putting them there on that side just because of what I believe they may end up collecting at the end of the day. Um, but that remains to be seen. If Sinners could just drop off next week, who knows? Until Dawn can absolutely drop off, but I'm betting that they won't. So, but yeah, that is the report for this month, guys. Pretty, pretty, pretty. How do I say it? Pretty balanced type of month. There were some successes and some failures, and obviously, by how I view things, it was pretty neck and neck. So 5 successes compared to your 5 failures, and we'll see now how the summer unfolds because now we are entering the summer season, and we'll see how things shape up. We have Thunderbolts, which doesn't seem like it's going to do all that great, but we'll see. Of course, then we have films like Lilo and Stitch, Mission Impossible. So we'll see how the next month unfolds. But as for April, not a bad month. Not a bad month at the movies. So that's going to be it for my box office report for this month. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys let me know your thoughts on the box office of this month. What do you guys thought were successes compared to failures? And your predictions for next month. How do you guys think Thunderbolts is going to do? How do you think Lilo and Stitch is going to do? I think Lilo and Stitch is going to do fine. Mission Impossible, I think that is going to fail real bad. I think it's going to do a nosedive. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. But let me know all of your thoughts, all your predictions, all of your feelings from this month, all that stuff in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.